Now here is one more important topic, and the topic is reactivity of metals, reactivity series of metals. We have been talking about it in various lessons that we have already done, but now actually we are going to discuss about the reactivity series of metals. Now reactivity series is nothing but the arrangement of metals in either increasing or decreasing order of their reactivity. Here in this picture you're seeing the metals which have been arranged in the decreasing order of reactivity. So here from top to bottom as you're going, the reactivity is constantly decreasing. The elements on the top are highly reactive, and then the reactivity goes on decreasing, and the last one will be the least reactive. So this is a diagrammatic representation that has been given to you here. Here it's written reactivity, and here what has been written, higher and then lower. So the elements have been arranged in the order of decreasing reactivity. So scientists have developed the reactivity series by doing many experiments of displacement reaction. So in the displacement reactions that we have studied, we know that the metal of higher reactivity displaces another metal of lower reactivity from the salt solution. So through the performing of various experiments of displacement reactions, this reactivity series of metals have been prepared by the scientists, and they have arranged the elements or the metals in their decreasing order of reactivity here. The arrangement of metals in the increasing or decreasing order of reactivity is called the reactivity series of metals. Metals are divided into the following groups according to their reactivity. So these are the three groups: highly reactive metals, moderately reactive metals, and less reactive metals. So let us see and understand this diagram here. Here we can see potassium, sodium, lithium, and calcium. Now these four are of very high reactivity, that is highly reactive metals. We have already seen reactions of sodium and potassium with water and oxygen, and that how spontaneously it reacts, and tremendous heat is released which may even result in fire. So it is always kept under kerosene, that is sodium. Similarly, potassium, lithium, and calcium are also reactive. Calcium, we had studied the reaction, and it results in the formation of calcium hydroxide, and buoyancy it also has. That also point we had studied, that the hydrogen gas that is given out attaches to the calcium piece, and it gives its buoyancy. So all these four here are of high reactivity. So you can coincide here. This is high reactivity metals here. They react with even water. So for reaction they need only cold water. They do not even need heating. They will spontaneously react. Then we have moderately reactive ones, that is aluminium, magnesium, zinc, iron, tin, and lead. They react with acids. So we had seen their reactions with dilute acids. We have seen the reactions, and we know that they do not react with water, and that they react only with steam. So we have seen the experimental arrangement also, and we have seen the reactions and the equations also we have written regarding them. They even react with oxygen. Then coming to the lowermost category, that is copper, mercury, silver, that is of less reactive metals, and we know that copper is displaced by iron, zinc. So all these experiments we have done, and we come to know that copper is displaced by many other metals in the reactions. Similarly, mercury, silver, gold, and even platinum are all metals of low reactivity. In fact, gold and platinum are called as noble metals because they do not have tendency to combine with any other element. So this is what is the reactivity series of metals, in which the metals have been arranged with the decreasing order of their reactivity. Let's move on to the next topic. We have now finished with the reactions of metals with water, oxygen, non-metals, other metal salts, etc. We now move on to the reaction of non-metals. How non-metals react. and with what do they react. So now we are studying the chemical properties of non-metals, and among that the first one that we are studying is reaction of non-metals with oxygen. So here we have a reaction of non-metals with oxygen. The very first, that is carbon and oxygen. Complete combustion. Combustion means burning. So when carbon is burned completely, here the oxygen available is sufficient, and so complete burning or combustion takes place and it results in the formation of carbon dioxide, and this is acidic in nature. Carbon and oxygen partial combustion, when the burning of carbon is incomplete, insufficient air is available, oxygen is not available in plenty, and so incomplete burning takes place and it results in the formation of carbon monoxide, and that is neutral in nature, that is neither acidic nor basic. Sulfur and oxygen combustion, sulfur dioxide, again acidic. Generally, we find that the oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature, but there may be exceptions, like in case of carbon monoxide, nitrogen monoxide, nitrous oxide, which are examples of neutral oxides of non-metals. So here we have three reactions, and it tells us that the oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature with one exception of carbon monoxide. Since oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature, they have a tendency of combining with bases. So they combine with bases and they give rise to salt and water. So it's just a neutralization reaction. So oxides of non-metals are acidic. Hence they have tendency to combine with bases. And the reaction between acid and base is neutralization, that results in the formation of salt and water. Now because these are also acidic in nature, the oxides of non-metals, they combine with water to give rise to acids. For example, carbon dioxide combines with water to give carbonic acid. Sulfur dioxide combines with water to form sulfurous acid. Sulfur trioxide will combine with water to form sulfuric acid. So likewise, oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. So generally, non-metals combine with oxygen to form acidic oxides. In some cases, neutral oxides are formed. Let's go on to the next slide. Before we start with this slide, I just wanted to tell you that in the previous slide, we said that oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. They combine with water to give rise to acids, and because they are acidic in nature, they have a tendency of combining with bases. Similarly, oxides of metals are basic in nature and they react with water to give rise to hydroxides. Like magnesium oxide combines with water to give magnesium hydroxide. Calcium oxide reacts with water to form calcium hydroxide, and so on. And oxides of metals, they being basic in nature, have a tendency to combine with acids and result in a neutralization reaction forming salt and water. So again, oxides of metals being basic react with acids and form salt and water, that is neutralization reaction. So this is what I just wanted to give you as information and relate metal oxides and non-metallic oxides. I hope you have followed this. Let's go on to this particular slide. In this particular slide, we are going to study about reaction of non-metals with water. Reaction of non-metals with water. Generally, non-metals do not react with water except the halogens. For example, chlorine on dissolving in water gives the following reaction. So we have a non-metal like chlorine, molecular formula is Cl2, reacts with water and it gives rise to HOCl. HOCl is hypochlorous acid, and hydrochloric acid. So two types of acids are formed. One is hypochlorous acid and the other one is hydrochloric acid. So this is one reaction that you have to remember for reaction of nonmetals with water. Let's move on to the next slide. Coming to the third reaction of nonmetals, and that is reaction of nonmetals with dilute acids. Generally, nonmetals do not react with dilute acids. Halogens are exception to this. So we had seen in the previous reaction that halogens were even exceptions in reaction with water. Nonmetals do not react with water, but halogens do. Similarly, here we find that nonmetals generally do not react with dilute acids, but halogens do. For example, chlorine reacts with dilute hydrobromic acid by the following reaction. Chlorine hydrobromic acid, that is HBr. How is HBr formed? H is 1 positive, bromine is 1 negative. So when you cross the valencies, you get the formula HBr, and that is called hydrobromic acid. Just like hydrochloric acid, that is HCl, we have hydrobromic acid. And the products are HCl and bromine. Here we have 2 bromine. So we write a 2 coefficient here. That makes hydrogen 2. So we write here coefficient 2 to make hydrogen 2. But in turn, chlorine also gets balanced because here we have 2 chlorine. So here also 2 chlorine. That is how we balance the equation. Another thing that we have to notice here is that hydrobromic acid, that is HBr, is converted to Br2. That means from hydrobromic acid, hydrogen is getting removed. And we have studied that removal of hydrogen is called as oxidation. So this is oxidation. And who is bringing about this oxidation? Chlorine. Chlorine is bringing about the removal of hydrogen from hydrobromic acid and converting it into bromine. So chlorine is a oxidizing agent in this particular reaction. So removal of hydrogen from HBr to Br2, that is oxidation. Let's move on to the next slide.